CNN about a week ago, I guess, did a report that showed that Israel had basically desecrated about 16 different cemeteries in Gaza to varying degrees. Here is CNN's Jeremy Diamond doing further reporting in response to the IDF that they destroyed a cemetery, I guess, of those 16 due to Hamas's presence there. In terms of, I guess, like what was ostensibly a tunnel that ran under the cemetery. And the reason why you got to be very suspicious about this is that one of the features of a tunnel is that it has two ends to it. And the idea of a tunnel that just went around and around in a cemetery, it seems pretty ludicrous. The idea would be that the tunnel actually traverses underneath the cemetery, can go on either way. And so if it was really about the tunnel, it seems to me that you could have protected the cemetery. But here is Jeremy Diamond saying that even that is a suspect assertion.
Ordinary quarry. It's where the living once buried their dead. Gaza's Bani Sahela cemetery, hollowed out by Israeli excavators.
These were all graves. This was a cemetery, but the military says that they were forced to come in here because they discovered a Hamas tunnel running right underneath that cemetery.
But the Israeli military failed to prove that stunning claim during a 3-hour tour of the area. They invited us here a week after we first uncovered this graveyard's partial destruction using satellite imagery, part of a CNN investigation that found 16 cemeteries in Gaza damaged or destroyed by the Israeli military.
This whole area here is a military compound. From the mosque over there, underneath the graveyard, all the way down north and south. My forces, at the beginning, we tried to flank this area, were fired from this area again and again and again. They couldn't understand why.
So that's how you determine that there was a tunnel here, because you were being fired upon?
Yes, sir.
Our journey to investigate the Israeli military's claims begins in the rubble of what they say was a residential building.
Even just standing at the mouth of this tunnel, you can feel the humidity just like emanating here. And this is the way that we go in to what they say is an extensive tunnel system in Bani Suhaila.
We descend into a dark, seemingly endless labyrinth. There's just tight spaces like this in certain parts of this tunnel. But then you get here and you have full headspace pretty much. All throughout it, you can see that there's electricity, there's telecommunications. The Israeli military says that this tunnel system actually leads to a Hamas command center, which they say was used by Hamas fighters to coordinate their attacks. The Israeli military says this is that command center. Multiple rooms equipped with plumbing and electricity. Maps like this once lining the walls.
You can see a kitchen here equipped with a sink, running water, with the pipes running through the tunnel wall. You have a fan, plates. I mean, you could imagine this being in a house, but instead it's deep, deep underground. Where are we right now? I mean, what's above us?
So we're in the headquarters of a Hamas commander. Above us is a cemetery that I showed you from the outside.
If you look at the satellite imagery of this cemetery, there is a wide area that the military has cleared. Why is that necessary in order to uncover these tunnels?
We had to reach the tunnels. We had to reach the tunnels. We had to uncover the tunnels. We had to prevent from the enemy to flank us.
But there's no way for us to verify whether we are actually beneath the graveyard. Right. General Goldfuss takes us back out of the tunnel, but not into the cemetery. Instead, we leave the same way we came in, before walking back to the enormous hole where the cemetery once stood.
Whoops.
Please hold on a second.
Yeah.
Whoopsie.
We're asking the general if we can actually see the shaft to the tunnel.
But the answer is no.
So?
There's all kinds of machinery which I don't want you to take pictures of. The security of my forces.
But what about if we don't film it? We just look with our eyes.
And then you might fall in. The whole thing can collapse. So you have to walk to the edge. The edge is not secured. It can collapse. There's machinery, so on. It's not something I'm going to take a risk on. Sorry.
The Israeli military later provided this drone footage showing the tunnel shaft we entered and another one nearby. CNN geolocated the footage using this satellite image. This outline shows where the cemetery once stood, and these are the two tunnel entrances clearly outside the graveyard.
Whoops.
As for the tunnel they say they found here, where the cemetery once stood, the military never provided any evidence.
It's weird that that cement tunnel is all of a sudden just gone. There's no remnants of it whatsoever.
Super weird. I love that they provided the drone footage and it directly contradicted everything that they were presenting. Which is what happened. Which is what happened, by the way, with the early hospital attack, where they provided evidence that there was an independent, like, forensic investigation into it that contradicted where they said the rockets took off, and then there was no further inquiry.
The making excuses thing reminds me of, like, when I was supposed to clean up the basement and my parents came home earlier than they were supposed to, and they're like, "Did you clean it up down there?" And it's like, "Can I go check?" It's like, "Yeah, you can. It's clean down there, but you gotta hold," because like you might fall in. Please, pardon me if I don't think that the IDF has journalist safety as their number one concern. If you have big evidence of this thing that you're using to just wholesale remove bodies and just remove cemeteries entirely, you might want to show that to CNN. If you, and on the other hand, the target was the cemetery and you oversaw a genocidal practice, yeah, I probably wouldn't want the cameras in there either.
They also let him go in the tunnel. Like the reporter went through the tunnels and that was the part that they wanted shown. But then when it comes to, like, the claim that they're trying to look into, oh, we're concerned for your safety that you might fall in. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. I mean, you look at that and there's just a total disregard. And I would probably argue, I mean, of 16 cemeteries, there has been a systemic agenda to completely wipe out any of the sort of, like, cultural and, I don't know, I mean, cemeteries is a clear indication that somebody lived here, right?
Tied to the land,
Where they get bored and tied to the land. I mean, almost literally. And so the destruction of hospitals and universities and mosques and cemeteries, this is all part of a whole, and they'll come up with different excuses each time. But it is, I mean, it is so obvious at this point what the agenda has been. Whether they'll be able to complete their work is really the only question.